Need you to take a deep breath because our topic this morning, I know, is a topic in church that we have to talk about, but I don't know anyone who wants to talk about it except me. I want to talk about it because I think it's really important, right? So the title of our conversation today is Jesus and Money. Jesus on money. Like, what does Jesus say about money? What's he say about this important aspect of our life? And listen, I know that's a little bit of like, but it's okay. Don't worry, it's going to be fun. It's going to be a good conversation because I want you to realize the life that, again, you've been invited to live, and sometimes money and that way we have perspective of possessions and stuff can really begin to poison our relationship with Jesus, really begin to limit the way we see God. And I just want to invite you to be open-hearted today, open-minded today as we listen and have a conversation. I pray that this topic, this message today will be way more of a blessing than a burden. So let's let Scripture kind of open the conversation for us. In the Gospel of Luke, which I love Luke, who wrote the Gospel of Luke, because had he not maybe had his books in the Bible, he would be seen as one of the greatest historians of the ancient world, because the detail that he went to writing his Gospel and the book of Acts and detailing out what was going on and what was happening. So when we read Luke, it is like a detailed account of what is essential and important about the life and teachings of Jesus. Here's what he says in Luke chapter 12, starting in verse 31. He says this: "Seek the kingdom of God above all else, and he will give you everything you want." Oh, wait a minute, that's not what it says. He will give you everything you need. So don't be afraid, little flock, for it gives your Father great happiness to give you the kingdom. What a statement. Sell your possessions and give to those in need, because this will store up treasures for you in heaven. And the purses of heaven never get old or develop holes. Your treasure will be safe. No thief can steal it. No moth can destroy it. Wherever your treasure is, this is huge, local city, wherever your treasure is, there the desires of your heart will also be. Write this down for me this morning. Why we're having this conversation is because money reveals what is really in our hearts. I had a pastor tell me one time, and it was not something that I enjoyed hearing. He's like, "Hey, Ryan, show me your credit card bill, show me your expenses, and I'll show you the things that you worship. I'll show you the things that are a priority to you." And I was like, that hurts. Please don't say that again, right? And it hurts because it's a reality. What we spend on, what we create value in, like that begins to show what matters to us. That begins to show what's of importance to us. So money really begins to reveal what's really in our hearts, right? Are we doing it to earn more and have more, to establish a position in our life of success? Are we doing it to feel good and feel better? Like, where is our finances going? And the invitation today is for you to find freedom in it, to know that God has invited you to live a life generously so that you are not chained or imprisoned by anything that this world has to offer. Because let me give you a great statement to build the foundation on today. It's that God has never wanted our money. He has always wanted our heart. Let me just tell you, at the very beginning of everything, God looked at the darkness and said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So I don't think he needs my check. I don't think he needs my money if he can do that. But he has invited us to bring it to him. Why? Because he wants our heart. And Jesus talked about money more than anything. Do you know why? Because he knew it was the thing that can begin to fill up your heart and that begins to move him out of your life. Because it's the thing that we can earn, it's the thing that we can use, it's the thing that we can be controlled by. And Jesus wants full freedom for your life. And he wants you to know that a healthy perspective of possession is such an important thing in our relationship with him. I think about two things in my life. I think about my son. He's 7.5 right now. His name is Shepherd. I talk about him a lot because he's incredible. Love him so much. And he has this thing that he loves doing at the playground right now. So at the playground in our neighborhood, I don't know how this playground equipment got approved because it is just death-defyingly dangerous. Like, I know they outlawed like the teeter-totter and the merry-go-round. This thing is worse. Like, if you don't have kids, you probably don't go to playgrounds. If you do, okay. But they have this thing at this playground that's like this big circle that is kind of at an angle, and you can walk around it or spin each other around it. Like, it's crazy, right? And so my son, as he loves to be the organizer of the playground, he will tell all the kids, all right, come on, hop up on the circle, and let's balance on it. And the last one to fall off gets $20. And And I'm like, I know you don't have $20. Where are you going to get this? And he's like, well, you'll give it to them. I'm like, no, I don't know who you think I am, but I'm not carrying around like pockets full of $20 bills, Shepherd. If I was, but I'm not, right? like that's not what's happening, right? And so, but I love the perspective, again, just go with me for a moment. I love the perspective that my son has that, hey, I know my dad has blessed me, so like if he's around, if I need something, he'll give it to me. And I want you to know that's the perspective you need to have about God. Not that he's going to give you 20s and you're going to wake up, hey, $20, pocket of my jeans, right? Like, no, like that's not what it's going to be. Those are great days, though, when you find those jeans in the dryer and they had money in them. Those are great. But it's not about just, hey, God, gimme. It's realizing, man, if God is close, if I've trusted him with my life, I'm going to have what I need. I can trust him because he will come through. I really, this whole conversation is a reminder and an invitation to trust God again and to live with a free perspective of what life is and the generosity we've been given, right? Because we like to get to this place where if we feel like we paid for it, we deserve it, right? I still remember something my dad said to me years and years and years ago, going through McDonald's. I think I was getting like a 6-count nugget, right? Like, I know that's unhealthy, but that's okay. They're good, right? So, if things were healthy that taste good, I'd eat them. But unhealthy stuff tastes good, so that's what I eat, right? But anyway, I went to the thing, and I opened my little nugget box, and I realized they had given me 5 when we'd ordered 6. And I was like, Dad, we need to turn around right now. And he's like, why? What is the emergency? They gave me 5 nuggets, and we ordered 6. He's like, we're not going anywhere. 5 is fine. Eat it. I'm like, Dad, but you paid for 6, right? Don't you want that? He's like, listen, if I'm not going to turn around when they give you 7 instead of 6, I'm not turning around when they give you 5 instead of 6. Isn't that an interesting perspective? I still remember my dad saying that because we love to get boisterous and loud when we feel like we didn't get what we paid for, but very rarely when we get more than we paid for do we say, well, let me give it back. But there's a healthy posture in that. Of realizing, hey, like, man, what I have is a gift. The breath in my lungs is a gift from God that I didn't even deserve. And he gave it to me freely. God's never wanted my stuff. He's never wanted my money. He just wants my heart. And Jesus illustrates what this looks like in a parable we find in Luke chapter 12. If we jump forward ahead a few verses, it says this in Luke chapter 12, verse 16. Then Jesus told a story. A rich man had a fertile farm that produced fine crops. And he said to himself, what should I do? I don't have room for all my crops. And then he said, I know, I'll tear down my barns and build bigger ones. Then I'll have room enough to store all my wheat and other goods. And I'll sit back and say to myself, my friend, you have stored enough away for years to come. Now take it easy, eat, drink, and be merry. And then God says something to this man that I hope he never says to me. God says to him, you are a fool. You will die this very night. Then who will get everything you worked for? Yes, a person is a fool to store up earthly wealth, but not have a rich relationship with God. Now let's unpack this story a little bit because I know it's a little bit on the nose. First, the fact that this guy looks at his success and sits back and says, wow, look how great I am. Sounds a little bit like our world. Why social media exists. Look at my great life. Look at all the cool things I get to do. And God's like, that's a foolish way to live. And Jesus tells this story because it is a foolish way to live. Because life is not just about earning and storing up for yourself. We are called to live our life as an overflow to others. So let me just first erase a stigma that has existed in church for a long time. God does not condemn and God is not afraid of success. I know there's a lot of talented people in our church who have built great businesses and have built great things of wealth that you should be proud of. And God has given you the talents and abilities to do that. And he's not saying success is an evil thing or building a great business is a bad thing. What he does say, though, if you're going to do that, make sure that your perspective and priorities are in the right spot, which is that you're building that so that you can pour out in overflow to others. What this guy says in the parable is, I'm going to build bigger barns, bigger storehouses, so I always have enough. That's not the perspective of the kingdom. The perspective of God's kingdom is, yes, work hard, build, store up, but also so that you can help others, so that you can overflow into the lives of others. Because we don't have to get too morbid, but I will for a moment. He says, hey man, you're working for all this stuff. You're holding on to it. You're storing it all up. But guess what? You're going to die today. So where's all that going to go? We know we're not promised tomorrow. So today is the day to live generously. Today is the day to live open-handed and not allow money or success or possession to have us. To realize God has put us in charge of those things. We steward them. The reason Jesus talks about money, Jesus on money, starts with this first thing to write down. It's that money is a great tool, but a terrible master. It's a great tool. Let's be real, money still moves the kingdom of earth, but faith moves the kingdom of heaven. So we're going to realize that I master the things that I have. None of these things own me. I'm not going to allow these physical things to influence my peace and rob me of my hope and rob me of my joy. It's a great tool, and we're going to use that tool to provide for people, to create a space on Sundays where people can experience God, but it will never be my master because I have one master, and his name is Jesus, because he's the one who will never let me down. And when you step into that posture, it doesn't matter the amount, the presence of Jesus is with you. You can walk through the seasons of blessing, and you can walk through the seasons of burden, knowing that Jesus is walking alongside of you, helping you, guiding you, and strengthening you. Listen, I've been in both seasons. Seasons of blessing, and man, I need to remind myself when I'm in a season of blessing, I better wake up and thank God every day that I'm in a season of blessing. If I'm in a season of burden and walking through the valley, I better wake up every day and say, God, I don't know where it's going to come from, but I'm trusting you're going to provide. And I cannot tell you the peace that I have in those moments. Because I know peace does not come from my paycheck. It comes from my capital P provider, who is my Heavenly Father. And if he's nearby, I can trust he's going to give me what I need. And I've walked through seasons where it was scary. I've walked through seasons where it took sacrifice. I walked through seasons where when we were planting Local City, there was, like, I stepped away from the old church job I had, and for about 10 to 12 months, no salary from my side. We were living just off Adrian's. But I knew God had still called us to be generous and tithe. And I'm like, God, 10% of zero is zero, so why do I have to do it? But I knew, like, that's not what this is about. And do you know what we celebrate 6 years later at Local City is that the generosity of Local City is unmatched with what we're able to do through our serve days and provide and care for people and be a blessing outside these walls all over the world. And I trace it back to that moment of money was not going to be my master. I was going to keep trusting God. And 6 years now, I believe we're still experiencing that blessing of that difficult choice. And I'm not saying the choice may not be difficult. I'm not saying the choice is going to make sense sometimes, but I just promise you, I've been on the other side, and that blessing you experience knowing God has been with you is second to none. Because here's the thing, Jesus talked about money because he cares about my freedom. Like, the most important thing to Jesus is that you would live free. The book of Galatians tells us that we have been set free, so we need to live truly set free and free indeed. That you are free from these things of the world that tie you down and hold you down. That you are free to live the life that Jesus has called you to live. To realize that we don't have to live stressed out, we can live fully surrendered. That we don't have to live in control, that we can live in commitment to Jesus, knowing that he is with us and that we have freedom in him. Do you know there's a statement that I think I've shared with a lot of people in this room and a lot of people in our church, because the world loves to tell us that our identity is all wrapped up in our job. Like, your identity, it's your job, what you do. And I'll just be honest with you, I know that it is a blessing for me to be able to stand up on the stage and tell you, I have a job I really enjoy. Like, I love getting to do this. I love pastoring people. I love getting a front row seat of what God is doing in someone's life. Doesn't mean it's not hard, but I know that I'm blessed. But I also know the reality that there are some of us in this room and watching online that absolutely hate our job. We hate everything about it. It's hard to get up and go to the office. But here's the thing. I want you to begin to look at your job not as your identity, but just as a fundraiser for the rest of your life. It's like my job. It's a fundraiser for me to be married. It's a fundraiser for my kids. It's a fundraiser for me to live the life that God's called me to live. And I'm telling you, that perspective will shift everything. Because you realize my identity is not wrapped up in the 8 hours or hours of this day where I have to go do this thing that I hate. It's wrapped up in what that allows me to do. Because I'm being a good steward of my life by working. I'm being a good steward of my life by using the talents and giftings God's given me to earn something. And it's a fundraiser for my life. Because let me just tell you, the Bible is very, very specific, and Jesus also tells a parable about the importance of working hard in our life. There's a parable called the parable of the talents. And what happens in that story is the king gives one man 10 talents, he gives the next man 5 talents, and he gives the last guy 1 talent. The guy who has 10 goes and doubles it. The guy who has 5 goes and doubles it. The guy who has 1 gets scared and is afraid and hides it, buries it, and when he goes to stand before the king says, you have lived lazily with the blessing that I've given you. So take it from him and give it to the guys who worked hard. Here's the thing about the guy who took 10 and doubled it. And God doesn't say, hey, you have 20, so you have more than the guy that had 10. No, he says, well done. You used what I gave you to make a difference. You used what I gave you, and you worked hard, knowing that it was a blessing. And there's just freedom in that. There's freedom in knowing the breath of my lungs is from God, so I want to begin to use that to help others see the life that I have in Jesus. It's not just for me to say, look how great I am, I'm all forgiven and set free. No, it's to make a difference in someone else's life so they can see the freedom that Jesus offers, no matter what it takes. Here's what I know about God. God doesn't want something from you. He wants everything for you. It's what Jesus is constantly trying to let people know. God doesn't want something from you. He wants everything for you. The world wants something from you. They want your attention. They want your focus. They want, your stuff. They want that. God doesn't want any of that. He wants everything for you. He wants you to live as the son and daughter that he created you to live, to know that you have a place in his house and you have a purpose here on this earth to make a difference in the lives of others, to live truly set free. And what a great posture to have. And for us, it's about having some personal moments of prayer as we begin to finish up here. I love Luke 16. It says this, if you are faithful in little things, you'll be faithful in large ones. But if you are dishonest in little things, you won't be honest with greater responsibilities. And if you are untrustworthy about worldly wealth, who will trust you with the true riches of heaven? What I pray daily now from this verse is, God, allow me to tap into the true riches of heaven and steward well what you've given me here on this earth. Because it is the things of heaven that I want to see poured out and unlocked in my life, in my marriage, in my family, and in our church. And that just requires me to be faithful in the little things that God's given me. You know what's like a truth that we see in the world is that contentment and stewardship are really important things. Because it's actually a statistical proven thing that people who win the lottery will most likely go bankrupt in a few years. Because it's not about having more. It's about they just don't know how to steward anything. They don't know how to make a decision of wisdom. And so again, today's thing is not about getting more and having more, and that's the secret. No, it's about, hey, what do you have right now? Steward it well. Live free from it. Understand that our life is really about the true riches that come from heaven. So let me give you 3 practical things, and the band's going to come up, and we're going to begin to finish here. Thank you so much for listening today. I know it's a heavy one, but a few more minutes, then we'll be done. I want you to realize this. How do I be trusted with true riches? Well, the first thing is I have to have wisdom in this thing we call budgeting. What an exciting topic, right? Woo, budgets, let's go. I'm not excited to talk about it, but that doesn't mean that we don't need to do it, right? Because here's the truth about, again, people on the earth, and especially people in our American culture, so many people, regardless of income, still live paycheck to paycheck. It's like, I have it, let me spend it. And that's not a way to live. That's not responsible. That's not being a good steward. And the thing is, God has called us to be good stewards that make space with this word we call margin. We make space for saving and stewardship for our family and for our future generations, but we also make room for God to move in our finances as well. So we got a budget. Is it exciting? No. I mean, if that's exciting to you, please come talk to me. I'd love to know why that's exciting to you. But I know it's important, right? I know to sit down and say, hey, here's a simple truth about budgeting. Here's how much I have coming in, so let me make sure what's going out is less than that. Pretty simple topic, simple understanding. But here's what I know about the duality of this decision is that being broke is hard and budgeting is hard. So you just got to choose which hard you want to live with. Right? And that's this thing that we have to begin to have a serious conversation about. But here's the thing. What I love about Local City is we're not here just to tell you to do this. We want to help you. We want to give you the tools to succeed. We want to give you resources that can help you live in a place of freedom. Because I know what it's like to be so afraid of bills and so afraid of what's going to happen. But when you take a step and take a deep breath and budget, number one, you see oh man, I'm wasting a lot. That latte every day is adding up. Maybe I don't need to do that anymore. Eating out. Uber Eats, it's adding up. I need to maybe make some shifts here. You begin to realize what you have rather than what you don't have. And listen, we want to help you live a life of generosity. And so we have a resource here that's completely free to anyone at the church, and it's called Generosity University. And you can scan the QR code on the screen, you can tap your phone, and there's a link to just sign up for this. And there is absolutely no cost. It is free. Like, our church invests in it so that you can live financially free in it. It walks you through steps on how to budget, how to plan, how to save, how to tithe, how to give. I'm just telling you, it really is a free way to live. It's a blessed way to live. It's a way that we realize that God has my heart, and I'm completely free from any attachments to the world here, and I can live the life that He's created me to live. I encourage you to check it out. It's on our website as well. It'll always be up there to take a look at it. I would say, hey, let's get together maybe as an individual today or with your wife or your spouse and say, you know what? We got to figure this out. We got to get better about this. Next one is this. How do I be trusted with true riches? I have to trust in the commandment of tithing. And I know this is another big one, another one of those words in church, but it's a word that we have to talk about because it is a command from God that allows us to know that He is in control, that He can be trusted. I love this slide talks about this invitation we give to you about, again, just taking 90 days and trying this thing we call the tithe, where the tithe is simply the first 10%. Here's what I've learned. God can do way more with 90% that He's involved with than I try to do with 100% on my own. I've seen it time and time again. And I just invite you to do this. Again, I would be a horrible pastor if I taught you how to pray, how to read your Bible, how to worship, but never taught you about the tithe, because it's a command from God. Because it is the tool that protects your heart from greed. It's the tool that protects your heart from the enemy attacking you with anxiety and fear of this world. It's the tool that constantly invites God into your life every single month, every single week. Like mine is set up on our website to recur, knowing the first of the month, I'm not paying the mortgage, I'm not paying the phone bill. The first thing I'm doing every month is saying, God, here's yours. It's yours already. It was already yours. I'm just giving it back to you. And I'm telling you, the freedom and peace that brings the rest of the month is unmatched. We believe in this so much that if you take a step and let us know that you're going to try this tithing thing for 90 days, if you get to the end of that 90 days and you don't see any blessing, if you don't feel any more spiritual closeness to the Lord, we'll give you back every cent that you gave, no questions asked. But it's because we believe in it so much that we don't think that's going to happen. Because in Malachi 3:10 in the book of the Bible, it's the only thing God says, hey, test me in this and see what I do. So I'm not telling you to test some religious practice. I'm telling you, put the love and faithfulness of God to the test and see what He does. He'll show up. He'll move in your life. And I just promise you, you'll be glad you did. And the last one is to get to a place in our life. Because some people would say, let me just tell you this. Some people would say, the tithe, that's an Old Testament thing. And when Jesus came, He got rid of it. Let me just tell you, that's not true. What Jesus began to say is, yes, the tithe is the starting point, and then the goal is to now live generous in the offerings of your life. That's how to find true riches in our life, is to realize now I've been called to live generous in offering, that my daily life is lived open-handed, that I know the offering is what God has asked me to do, that I am called to just live generously with my time, my talent, and my treasure. Everything is an offering to God, and God, I'm going to live generous in that. It's the last thing to write down today. I'm committing to live generous in offering. And I love the fact that the church is made up on this. The church is built by generous people, by good stewards who know that my life has been changed in this house, and so I want to do whatever it takes to provide for someone else. And so at the end of every year, we have this really beautiful Sunday called our Miracle Sunday offering. And again, the tithe is that command. It's the starting point, but the real goal is just to live generous in offering. And so over this next month, I would encourage you, we're just going to take up an offering that day. We're going to worship together. It's going to be beautiful, December 14th here during both services. And we're just going to come together at the end of the year and bring God an offering, saying, God, use this to bless someone else. And there's no amount to it. Trust me, I grew up in a church where those Sundays looked like this. All right, we're not leaving until this amount is raised. And boy, oh boy, you want to talk about awkward. That's the worst. But we ain't ever doing that. What we are going to talk about is, man, we're coming together. We're going to offer whatever we feel God has laid on our heart, and we're going to celebrate knowing one big thing, that this is going to continue to be that miracle seed for the permanent building that Local City is going to have in the very near future. We're going to plant that seed. And we're going to give and sow and believe that way before the opportunity even presents itself, we're going to live generously in our offering, knowing that when that opportunity does come, we have stepped up knowing God's going to respond to our generosity. And there's such beauty in this. To be able to live this way is so free. So I invite you today to have a moment of where you allow Jesus to speak about this concept to your heart. Not to realize he's trying to get something from you, but he's trying to bring something for you. And the ultimate goal is that your heart would be truly and fully free. Would you bow your heads and close your eyes with me today?